This weekend's fight coming up in the UFC, if you can believe it, a 5-fight UFC vet and former ADCC European champ. It's Switzerland's Stephanie Egger. She's going to be taking on Russian Ronda, Irina Alekseeva. And Matt, when I went down through this one, I have no idea why this is even a UFC fight. Because if you look at it, for Irina Alekseeva, I mean, there's articles out there. She signed with Invicta. Then she signed with Bellator. She had a fight. Then she got released by Bellator. The UFC scooped her up. They signed her back in August of last year. So they went with a 4-1 fighter. And we're going to bring up her record. I'm going to show it to the folks out there on Topology. She is 4-1 now.
You mean scooped her up in like a Rule 5 draft kind of sense?
Yeah, we're going to see if this prospect works out. And if they can't kick it on the 40-man, we're sending them back over to their original team. But when you look at the overall record, Matt, the accolades, they precede her. They're good, and they will kind of really hit you off the hop. But so you look at it for Irina Alekseeva. She beats Guinara Gareva, and that's by refusal to fight. That's by refusal to fight. The next fight against Shakira Rakimonova by decision. That's against an 0-2 fighter. Then she fights Zetia Shaftor at RCC 6 back in 2019. First round armbar against a fighter that's 5-5. She goes up against...
5-5 when you're 2-0 though isn't terrible.
She goes up against Lilia Kazak, who had 5 times more experience than her. She was 8-6-2. And in that one, she gets out punched. She gets out grappled. She struggled against a fighter who she seemed to have a size advantage over. Even though at the start of the fight, she looked like she was going to finish Kazak. She kind of blew it in the first round, second round, third round, did not go her way. And then she took on Bellator's Stephanie Page, who was 5-2 back in 2021, wins that fight by decision. She weighed 129.9 pounds for flyweight, and the entire fight, the commentary team said, I don't know why she didn't make the weight. Boy, she looks really slow in this third round. Boy, it wasn't going very well. So again, I know I seem incredibly negative off the hop about this prospect who's 4-1, who's almost 33 years old. It's a really, really strange signing.
It is, but at least let me play devil's advocate for 2 seconds. We're not going to see her in the areas she's worst at in a lot of this fight. At least that's not what I think. I don't think Stephanie Egger is all of a sudden going to go out there and start striking like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and stay on the outside and really be able to avoid grappling for 100% of this fight. And that's why hopefully the grappling exchanges will be interesting because of course we know how talented of an MMA grappler Stephanie Egger definitely is at this point and throughout her UFC run. So for Irina, if she is able to translate some of that judo success over into the UFC, then I don't think this is going to make for the worst fight ever. I do agree with you. If you stack all of her skills up on top of each other, are they going to equal this crazy high tower? No, but I do think we will see the highest accentuation of her skill set.
Yeah, so for Irina Alekseeva, let's give her flowers. A 3-time Russian judo champion, silver medalist. She's a Russian European gold medalist at the Sambo World Championships. A 4-time Russian hand-to-hand combat champ. A 2-time European hand-to-hand combat champ. A world champ in hand-to-hand combat. And if you do consider that, I read that from an article in 2019. It was a Sherdog won by Elena Katerskaya. So Elena putting in the work. But when you do look at it overall, for Alekseeva, she trains out of Rati Team, which is also known as Ratiborets, which is the gym that you're going to find Roman Kopylov out of, as well as Oleg Olenikov. But if I do look at Alekseeva, she will kind of strike to clinch. She throws massive looping hooks with her head completely out on the center line.
Leaves herself defenseless.
She is there to get hit. And wild looping striker, no jab was another part of my notes in watching these fights. But when I considered it for Alekseeva, she started her career at featherweight. She moved it down to flyweight. She missed flyweight. Now we're up at bantamweight. And the last time that she fought was 553 days ago. And that's not saying that Stephanie Egger is some peach. I know she's 5-3 in the UFC. Came in on short notice to take on Tracy Cortes. Got out wrestled. The other loss is to Maida Bueno Silva. It was a phantom tap. But the other 3 fights, big wins. Jessica Rose Clark, performance bonus. She beats Eileen Perez in those wrestling grappling exchanges. And Shanna Young looked good with the striking to start. And then by the end of it, it was Egger on top, landing a lot of that ground and pound. So when you do consider it for both of these fighters, Egger will fight behind a jab, but she too will kind of follow it with her head, and she follows the path. Neither fighter is all that adept at cutting off the cage. Alekseeva has the wider breadth of strikes when it comes to both of these ladies and hits much harder, even though
because she puts everything into it.
We're not seeing a lot of finishes by knockout. Matt, well, when it does come down to this fight, we'll see Alekseeva making that walk into the UFC, making that debut in Vegas. The odds in this one, Egger is a massive favorite. You have a look at the Topology votes. Surprise to us there, to you. I'm going to say over under 72.5% Egger, even though she's a big favorite.
I think they'll be over.
Yeah, they're over. So 470 total votes, 85% Egger, 57% by submission for the 15% that have Alekseeva, 62% by decision. I mean, Stephanie Egger, we haven't really talked about her. Like, she was somebody, took on Gabby Garcia at ADCC, wasn't necessarily able to get it done in that one, lost by points. She beat King Reina over with Ryzen. That was kind of the coming out party win that she did have. But when you consider this, Matt, I mean, for Egger, it's just got to be a lot of control positions in a fight like this.
This is the only thing about Egger that I don't love throughout her UFC tenure. The 2 fighters she lost to are half decent, and the 3 fighters she's beat, they're not the greatest fighters in the world. Like, Shayna Young is extremely one-dimensional. Jessica Rose Clark, I thought was going to beat her, but really she only has wrestling and not that much else, and she's not really in her prime anymore. Like, for Egger, she's still kind of fighting the same level of opposition that she was when she came into the UFC, so if she wins this, it will be nice to see her really take a meaningful step up afterwards. I do have her in this fight, but that's just sort of a broader term on Egger. It'd be nice to see her kind of take that step up and fight someone who is either ranked or close to being ranked.
Alekseeva in the 3rd round of her fight against Paige, the commentary team with Bellator said one of the strangest things I've ever heard.
It was just dragging that front foot. That's what you don't see. You know, you don't see the morning after. That's not on pay-per-view.
No, but it definitely is painful.
In the morning after, nobody gets to see that part on pay-per-view. Alekseeva in that fight against Kazakh in the 2nd round wobbles her, drops her, and then by the end of the round, Kazakh was going for a rear naked choke that looked like it was completely in. I don't know how Alekseeva didn't go out. So again, with that grappling defense that we've seen in some of these fights, maybe Alekseeva is able to pull it out in this one. She is the better striker on paper, but we'll see if that striking defense costs her in this matchup. I'm going to go with Stephanie Egger in the fight. I think the judo and the jiu-jitsu might be just turned up a little bit, but we'll see if we get a little bit of a regression to the mean for old Egger. Both of us going with Switzerland's own in the matchup. Originally supposed to be 2 Swiss fighters on the card. Ange Lusa is out. Trey Waters is in, and he's taking on Josh Quinlan. That's just one of the matchups you got to look forward to. You're going to want to keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.